Hey everyone, it's Jordan from Fish Keeping Made Easy, and today we are going to do a care guide on the Cockatoo Dwarf Cichlid. Now, like every care guide in the past, this will be a combination of well-known care advice but also my own experience from keeping them, looking after them in my local fish shop and just from talking to other hobbyists. So this care guide will more or less cover the general care of most apistogrammas. Obviously some will have more niche care, but in general this will cover all the basics. These apistogrammas do come in different colour variations like double red, double yellow, double orange, all these kind of different things, but again, all care requirements are exactly the same. So the Apistogramma Cacatuoides, as it's more commonly known, originate from the Amazon River and other tributary rivers where it lives in small shallow streams or lagoon-like waters within the Amazon rainforest itself. This means this fish likes soft warm water, so a pH of 6 to 7, maybe 7.5 and a temperature of 24 to 28 degrees. Personally, I've kept and successfully bred mine in a pH of 6.4 and a temperature of around 25 degrees. These are probably one of the best beginner apistogrammas to start with, as they're pretty hardy and they're extremely easy to breed, so again you might be able to get them for free from a friend or another local hobbyist who has successfully bred them. This would also have the added benefit of the fish being raised in your local waters, which again would make them more acclimated towards slightly higher pHs and slightly harder water. So what does the fish actually look like? Well, males and females do have different appearances, and these will be very obvious once you've had them in your tank for a few weeks, but in the actual fish store itself, both males and females will be slightly harder to differentiate between. This is due to the fact there will be a lot of fish in the actual tank itself, and they'll be pretty stressed out and lose a lot of their colour. You also get what is called a sleeper male, who will give off the appearance of a female just to get closer to them. So just make sure you actually have a pair, as I've had a lot of people contacting me regarding their fish not breeding, and to be honest, 9 times out of 10 it's because they actually have 2 males. My advice is females tend to be more yellow. This female in the picture here is really yellow. This is when you know they're healthy and they're going to be ready to breed. Whereas males will have bigger finnage and more of a pattern on those fins. Males are also larger, but again, if they're both juveniles, this can really be hard to tell the difference between. So let's move on to tank size and what's required within the tank. So for tank size, I would say anything from 75 to 100 litres would be ideal. For breeding a pair, you could have them as something as small as a 50 or 60 litre. If you are going to keep one male with multiple females, you'll probably want to have a tank size of closer to around 200 litres. You would also want to give each female its own cave, so its little territory as far away as you can. I would probably put like one in each corner or something along those lines. I've known a few people to keep multiple females and it has worked quite well, as the male isn't constantly just pestering one female over and over again. Well, in terms of tank setup, they do come from areas where the bottom of the water is covered with leaves, and the fish would use this for hiding and for breeding, so they are actually ideal candidates for black water setups. However, the most popular way people tend to keep them is in a well-planted tank. As you can see, it's a thick Amazon sword jungle with lots of other plant growth in between. There's also plenty of hardscape for them to hide and use as caves. I also used a soft, fine sand substrate because I do notice they do like to sift through it, but I don't believe this is necessary, as I've seen a lot of good scapes where there's no sand at all. Now, it's also good to have a well-planted tank if you're going to keep them in a community tank, as this will help break the line of sight in the tank and means they won't be chasing off fish every 2 seconds if they go anywhere near a nesting site. So I guess the next question we need to ask is, are they community fish? Well, yes and no. In general, they're pretty peaceful until they start breeding, just like any other cichlid would be, and obviously most people buy them in pairs and hope to breed them. I have heard that if you keep lone males, they can become depressed and it lowers their lifespan if they don't have the company of a female, but again, I'm not sure how true this actually is. They go perfectly well with groups of other small tetra and other similar sized schooling fish. Things like cories are known to be chased off and attacked regularly for going just that little bit too close to nesting sites. Personally, I feel that it's more to do with tank setup than tank mates, because personally with the Amazon swords and the other tall plants, this meant that fish in the middle to upper sections were kinda left alone by the apistogrammas. Mines weren't even really bothered by the blue phantom plex or the Amazon puffers or the geophagus. Now, I have seen different breeding pairs claiming different sized territories. My first pair basically tried to take up half the tank, whereas other pairs I've had have happily just taken a small corner of the tank. So I would say they are a community fish, but the community needs to be built around them, and it will all be trial and error. But without a doubt, for me, I wouldn't mix them with other Apistogrammas, and I wouldn't mix them with other dwarf cichlids such as rams and crebensis. People will obviously have had success keeping these combinations, but I wouldn't even risk it. It's just a little bit unfair on the fish, as there would be really high stress levels with all the territory battles going on between the fish. So what do these fish actually eat? To be honest, I've found that they really eat anything. I believe they're not known for being great at eating pellets and flakes, but when it comes to frozen foods and live foods, they work really well. I fed an actual cichlid mix to mine, bloodworms, mosquito larvae, mysa shrimp, brine shrimp, more or less any frozen food that's available, they will eat them. If you want to increase breeding, I found that a cichlid mix works very well, also live bloodworms. So I have spoken about breeding throughout this video, but I want to make a full in-depth video on actually breeding them, as I bred them and it was a really good experience for breeding fish, and I feel like I had a lot of success, but I also learned a few things whilst doing it. So I'm actually going to make a full video on breeding Apistogrammas after this. So as always, thank you for watching this video. I hope some of this information was useful to you. Please subscribe if you liked it, and I will see you in the next one.